Hey everyone, welcome back to the RetroBreak Podcast. Today we have another very special guest on the episode with us. This is Studio Loading, the game designer and developer of the amazing Game Boy homebrew game Flying Arrows.
Hello. I'm Studio Loading, aka Francesco Bacchelli from Italy. In 2022, I reached the goal for my first Kickstarter campaign on Game Boy video game, new homebrew game.
Congratulations on the successful Kickstarter.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is my biggest thing up to now.
Yeah, we'll be covering that in a bit more detail a bit later on. Let's first begin with maybe your software development journey, considering that this is a game that's made in GBDK.
Of course. I have a degree in a bachelor degree in IT, and I did it back in 2012. I started in software development for big companies right in the beginning, right? I did some e-commerce back in the days for 2 or 3 years. Then I moved and I changed my domain, but still in the workday I use the Java language, but during the night I use the C language, pure C, not C++, not C sharp.
Had you ever used C before that?
Yeah, when I was in high school, when I was 15 and 16, our teacher taught us the C and also the assembly. I was quite good in assembly, but I decided not to go there.
You haven't been tempted to try assembly language Game Boy programming?
Yes, but I thought that just for moving a little ball and make it bounce from the borders on the borders, it would meant like 3 or 4 months of work,
Yeah.
So the C language is faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you've been using ZGB as well, which is kind of a layer on top of GBDK,
Yes,
isn't it?
it is.
Do you want to explain a bit about how that helps with the process?
Yes. Actually, I ended the Cobra Kai fan game development in 2019, December 2019. I discovered the ZGB.
Yeah.
I've never worked with GBDK. So I opened the GitHub. I spent like 1 hour with that, with the installments, with the environment variable, with sprite editing tools.
Yeah.
And in 1 hour, I had my first sprite moving and obeying my order, my inputs.
It's exciting, isn't it? When you get that first spark of an actual game, it's exciting.
Yeah, that was not my first game actually, but I was very excited for the little time I spent to obtain that goal, to obtain my sprite moving. And this is the start of my journey. I had the skills for the C language. I had the pixel art skills because I did, as said, the Cobra Kai video game published in Indie Expo. I studied a lot of game design in books and a little bit of sound engineering also, because my goal was to be a one-man band.
Yeah.
And going straight to the Game Boy.
How did you decide from the beginning that you wanted to make a game for the Game Boy?
I've always wanted it to be the hobby of my life, because I thought, well, I think I've played all the game that the world can give me. So I started as a 6-year-old boy with my Game Boy. So that is my first console ever.
Oh, fantastic.
So I followed the Game Boy, the NES, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation 1, and the PlayStation 2. I played all of them.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the newest games that comes up in the newest consoles, but I'm not able to see something really different, something really original that's not a copy of something else that was made in the past.
Yeah, I have the same issue, honestly.
But it's a problem of mine. I mean, I know these are extremely different experiences.
Yeah.
Because of the resolutions, because of the audio quality, but I'm not able to be in love with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's
So
because there
why
isn't
the
that
game?
sort of hook to hook you into a game. Like with your
Yeah.
game, it's a very simple game, but it's got one core mechanic. You fire the arrow, you can jump on the arrow, swing across the level using it. It's just, yeah, it's a really clever little simple idea. How did you come up with that idea as your concept for the game?
Actually, it was something like an experiment,
Mm,
because I was actually doing a moving platform. I did the sprite platform
yeah,
moving from left to right, from right to left, from left to right, like a ping pong.
yeah.
So to implement this mechanic, so my character jumps over it, and he's had to stay hooked on it, moving according to.
Hmm.
I wrote something like 6 or 7 lines of code, and then I thought, well, now I copy these lines, paste it on the code of my arrow, and see what happens.
And then you found out you could stand on it and it would move back and
Yes.
forth. Excellent. It was kind of an accident, but it worked out really well. It wasn't planned.
No, 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 no. It wasn't planned. It was planned at all.
So, what were
I
your
remember.
plans in the beginning then when you first decided to start making a game? Was it just a 2D platformer and see where you wanted to take it from there?
Yes, I am actually in love with Turrican. The actually the Game Boy title, the Game Boy version, because back in the day, I
Yeah.
didn't know that was a super cool Turrican on the Amiga, NES, etc. I had just this,
It's actually a really
and
good version on the Game Boy.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
and it was
Surprisingly good.
super hard for me. It's super hard
Yeah.
to me when I was a kid, and actually even today. I've not finished it yet. I'm not able to do it. It's too hard for me, even now that I'm 35 years old, and I want to get closer to that, but with my own world, with my own rules, in my own lore, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can kind of see the Turrican elements in your game. What were some of your other favorite Game Boy games growing up then, or ones that you found out a bit later on in life that you really enjoyed on the system?
Yes. Well, the Tetris and the Turrican are
Uh,
actually,
of course, Tetris, classic.
yes, it's a perfect, if it's a
Yeah.
perfect game. It's just perfect. Why the Game Boy? In 2020, I decided to approach the game development in a more serious way.
Okay. Was that to do with lockdown? Did you have more time to dedicate to it?
That was a lot of luck to me, having so much more time to spend on it. Um, I looked at a lot of Kickstarter campaign about homebrew, and I
Hmm.
saw that for the Game Boy, there was quite a few, and a lot of them just failed.
Yeah, around
I
2020, there was quite a lot starting to
Yes,
emerge, wasn't there, at that point?
I watched the NES homebrew scene
Yeah.
because I had to decide going to NES development or going to Game Boy development.
Hmm.
The NES had a higher quality. I was a newbie, I was a junior, let's say. So I knew that to get there, I had a very long way to compete.
Yeah. To get to the same
I,
level. Yeah.
yes, yes. I had to do my own path. I had to go in the easier path that was the Game Boy. And here we are.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you feel about the Game Boy scene now, a few years on? Do you think is it different to how it was in 2020? Have you seen an improvement in the sort of homebrew games that are
Yes,
coming out for it?
yes, I saw that, but maybe it's because of the GB Studio engine.
Maybe. I mean, it's
I,
definitely broadened the access to making a Game Boy game to a lot more people.
yes, and we know that GRPG, RPG, mini puzzle games will always work, will always sell
Yeah.
good, and will always look good.
Yeah. I mean, with the
So
RPGs, they're always sort of playing off the back of Pokemon a little bit. When you see something, oh, it's like Pokemon for the Game Boy, and you've got that instant
oh
connection to it.
about that, yes, yes, about that. The I entered in contact with
Yeah.
the Dragonborn. It was called the video game for the Game Boy that back in those years was coming out.
Yeah, very good. Early release with Game Boy Studio. Very impressive.
Yes, Chris. What's his name? It's Chris something I cannot remember. I'm sorry, Chris, if you listen to me now. Spacebot. Spacebot. Yes, 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 yes. I got in touch with him, and I received my first bad review, actually.
Oh, okay. So your game was already playable back then, and
Yes, it was quite a prototype, not
yeah,
a demo,
and
not a demo at all.
and he
A
played your
prototype.
game and didn't really think that highly of it. Is that what you're saying there?
Yes,
Okay.
but he gave me some advices.
What was your game like back then, and what sort of feedback did he give you in the beginning?
My pixel art was messy. It had too much stuff on screen, and it was difficult to understand where the character was, what was the environment, and even the HUD was confusing. And it was true.
So you
Exactly.
learnt from that. You improved your sprite work. Was there anything about the gameplay that you changed?
No, the game mechanic were quite the same. It was just the art that had to be improved. So I redraw the principal character, the one you play, and I redraw all the levels, started from scratch, because I needed a full reskin of the game, and it worked very good.
Yeah, the final game, it's really easy to see what's going on. So it was good that
Yes.
you got that feedback, because it definitely helped.
Yes, very good. Big shout out to Spacebot. I know it's out there, Dragonborn DX. Nick, can you please tell me and explain me what DX mean?
So back in the day on the Game Boy Color, there was like DX
Mm.
versions of games, and it kind of stood for the word deluxe. Like it was adding color to the games. Like there's Link's Awakening DX, which is like a deluxe color version of the original Link's Awakening. A more recent example, Tobu Tobu Girl, and then Tobu Tobu Girl DX, which added color to it. So it basically just means like improved with color in terms of games anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dragonborn
Okay.
DX is
Okay.
kind of playing off that old style of naming the games for
Yes.
Game Boy Color,
Yes.
which is
Totally.
nice.
Very nice.
Was there actually, talking about color, was there a reason why you chose to go for black and white instead of going for the Game Boy Color? Were you just more nostalgic about the original Game Boy?
You have the demo version in your hand.
I don't have the actual version. Yes.
The actual you can see the actual version in the Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
And this is the final one. So, maybe the light is not good, but the cartridge is actually black.
Yeah.
So black, everyone, eyes up. The black cartridge means color compatible. So if you play it on the Game Boy Color, you see colors. If you play it on the DMG, it plays just the same, but without color because it's a DMG.
That's good. I'm really glad that you did match the original style of the cartridge as well. I was having that discussion the other day, saying that some homebrew developers don't adhere to that. The black cartridge means that it runs on both systems, or the fact that the clear ones should only run on the Game Boy Color as well. So it's good that you took that into consideration. Let's move on to the Kickstarter, because that'll be really interesting to get into. How long after you'd been working on the game did you decide that you wanted to set up a Kickstarter and, you know, try and raise funds for the production of it?
It took me 7-8 months, and then I decided to do it in a crowdfunding way, because a real Game Boy game exists if it is flashed on a cartridge. The Kickstarter could give me the visibility that I needed because I was Mr. No One. This is the reason why, and I had nothing to lose. So if the Kickstarter goes good, okay. If the Kickstarter wouldn't go good, okay. I was nobody before. I keep being nobody.
And it's experience either way. You'd learn something from it.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
deciding just by myself the Kickstarter campaign and the perks and the costs and the money, I had to going like quite around the world because the the PCBs like come from Australia. The black cartridges comes from retromodding.net or .com. I cannot remember.
Yeah, they're in
The
Canada, aren't they?
the label actually in Italian Pixar printing. The boxes comes from Italy, and the carton, the carton inside the boxes comes from, I think this is AliExpress because it's really good quality, so it's
So
okay.
the
Oh,
Kickstarter allowed you to gather all these things to build your own proper physical version.
and I set the costs to produce and ship 100
Yeah.
copies. So
Okay.
it did good. So the production was mandatory to be started.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any advice for anyone thinking of starting a Kickstarter for their own games?
Of course. Copy my campaign one on one.
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, I'm sure you got inspiration from ones that had come before you as well. So,
yes, of course.
I mean,
My
that's how you
inspiration.
do it.
Yes, let's talk about it. My inspiration
Yeah, sure.
was the tiny little bunny that just doesn't stop to jump.
Planet Hop.
Poddy.
Planet Hop.
Planet Hub. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still hasn't come out yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
Doesn't? No, not yet. It's not out
I
yet.
don't think so. There's only a demo as far as I'm aware.
That was my inspiration, and I did before.
You've beaten them. You've beaten them to release.
The man was actually very kind to me because I sent him 2 or 3 private messages on Kickstarter, and
Yeah.
he answered me. He was very, very nice.
Oh, fantastic.
So I saw that, well, first thing, his campaign reached the goal. So
Yeah.
that campaign
You knew it was good.
worked. All right.
Yep.
So he had the pictures of mocked objects, the mocked perks. He had some animated GIFs for the gameplay, I mean. And in the first image of the campaign, it was all that the campaign was talking about. So it was not just the logo or just a dead picture. It had a lot of things. I did something different because if you see my campaign, the first images are just the perks. So image of the box, image of the cartridge, logo of the game, and then the lore and the explanation of the campaign. So first thing, do a picture of what your clients are going to buy you. There is a risk in here in this situation because you are selling something you have not yet in your hands.
Something that doesn't actually exist. Yeah.
Yes. So the mock images had to be very accurate, and you take the responsibility to produce something as similar as possible to that. If you see the initial credits of my game Flying Arrows, you see a credit of Comuneco that is actually a friend of mine. She's called Alessia, and she helped me a lot with the mock files, with the mock images, with the logo, and with the cover art. Because I'm a software developer, I'm not able to draw.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you made those mock-ups for the box and the cartridge because they look really professional. A piece of advice there for anyone: if there's anything that you don't feel uncomfortable doing, then try and find a friend or hire someone to make that for you, just to make it look more professional. Definitely helps.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, about hiring, the sound was actually a problem.
Okay.
because if you decide to write something for the Game Boy, you have to do something like a MIDI file that's not actually MIDI. I was moved to produce some mod files.
Yep.
You can find free mod files for the Amiga. Even the Amiga used to run the .mod files. But I needed someone who was able to write my music in the Game Boy. So back in when I was 18 or 20, I had a hard rock band. I was the drummer.
Okay.
We actually wrote 8 or 9 songs, but we had no singer. So the songs we wrote were very structured, with the intro, the strophe, with the pre-chorus, the chorus, the outro, etc. So very, very structured and ready, but no voice. Oh, come on. That's perfect for a Game Boy. That's perfect for a video game. So all of those became my background music.
Okay. So they existed already as real songs, and you translated
Yes.
those into the Game Boy.
That was exactly my point, not me. I met a guy that is actually a musician, and he was able to translate my tablatures into something Game Boy. Yes, the result was very good. What I did my own about the sound design was the sound effects. So sound effects, yes, they are all mine.
So talk a little bit about the level layouts then, and the sort of, what did you learn from researching game design that you implemented in this?
The most important thing has been the balance between frustration
Yeah.
and satisfaction.
Yeah, it's a really difficult balance.
I was going to send you the books I studied on to learn the theory for a good game design.
That would be interesting. I can include them in the description on the podcast as well.
Please do that. What I studied on books about game design. So very well written. They are kind of classics in game design literature.
Okay, fantastic. So, yeah, for those of you who are listening, the two books are called Pixel Art for Game Developers and 2D Graphics Programming for Games. And I'll have links to both of those in the description if you want to go and check those out after. They sound like really good resources. And I know I keep telling you all the time, but I am tempted to make my own game one day, so maybe I'll actually buy them for myself.
Come on, no one's gonna believe you.
How many times have I told you I'm going to make a Game Boy game
Exactly.
one day? One day. I didn't say what day or what year.
22.
It's 22, yeah.
22 times.
Maybe.
This is the 23rd time, actually. I hear it from you.
Anyway, one day it will come true, I promise.
About the studies I did, I watched a lot of angry video game nerds. You know him. You know him.
Okay, that's an interesting place to study from. I know of him.
Yes.
What did you learn from that then?
I think he used the empathy, the vulgarities, his way of moving and dirty talks. But
yeah,
he always actually had a point.
Okay, so you could kind of tell what made a game bad or what made a game frustrating.
Yes.
And try to avoid that. Okay, interesting. I've never heard anyone say they got inspiration from AVGN before, so that's a new one.
Yes, very much, actually. Very much.
Wow, that's cool. Actually, going a bit off topic, when I started my YouTube channel back in 2007, it actually began as an angry video game nerd ripoff.
I know.
Way back in the day.
I know. But you see, you are too a good man to reach that
Yeah,
level.
I can't do the angry gamer. It just doesn't work. I'm too happy.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
he actually is still doing millions of views, even if he
Yep.
publish, even if he publishes like one video per month or one video per 2 or 3 months. Still, in seven
Yeah.
days, 1 million views reached. It's
I know, it's insane. Did you learn anything from any other YouTube channels? Because there are a lot of game dev channels out there. I wonder if you watched any of those.
oh, GameSack.
Yeah, GameSack's great. Back on to some of your projects. Do you have any plans for a sequel now that you've got a successful game already
Of
launched?
course, of course. You know, I speak to you about Comuneco. She is actually
Yeah,
part of this association. Bologna Nerd Park is a non-lucrative retro game and table game association based in Bologna. Uh, I I belong, let's say, I belong to them. So I used to go there like once or twice a week to get my inspiration. We are actually a group of young adults, so we join together in the real world in this big garage in Bologna City. So we keep the place open to the public like 3 times a week and mainly by evening night because most of us have a daily job to do, you know. Our main
yeah.
goal is actually to enjoy a real life community, playing together and having fun. We play arcades, real hardware retro consoles from the Commodore 64 to the PS5. So there are monthly table game tournaments, role-playing table games, 3D printing, and even a Game Boy programming course.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds like a really, really good thing for the community as well, to get everyone
Yes,
together in person. That's really cool.
guess who's the teacher could be?
So, in a few years' time, expect a lot more Game Boy Kickstarters coming from Italy.
I hope so.
Yeah,
So, Bologna Nerd Park actually is in great danger because we do not own the building and our garage is going on auction. So very soon, it's June 23, we can lose it all. Lose it all means like starting from a new place, moving all the stuff from a place to another one. It would be very messy and maybe a new beginning, but it would be very hard to accomplish. So the president of the association asked us to try to win.
yeah.
So
Okay,
we
so you're going to
have
try and
to
get some money
participate.
together. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, good luck. Fingers crossed.
So Bologna Nerd actually is a place full of nerds, you know? And have you ever tried to ask a nerd to play your Game Boy game? Have you ever tried to talk to a nerd about game design or retro games in general? Of course.
Yeah,
And it's the like core business. It's the main topic, right?
sure.
So Bologna Nerd and Studio Loading are going to develop together the Flying Arrows too.
Ah, fantastic. So this one's going to be more of a
So
group effort.
yes,
Okay.
yes, still. I keep my Studio Loading account. I keep the responsibility through all the pipeline production. I took all the bad stuff that can happen, but this is my only way to help Bologna Nerd as I can.
How is it working with a group of people and what rather than working on your own? Are you finding that challenging, or do you think it's actually better doing it that way?
Well, I'm the only one developer. So who's coding the game is just me, and I do
Yeah.
not want anybody else to do that. The useful part are the lore suggestions, the game design suggestions,
Hmm.
the test sessions that we play
Yeah,
together
that's
on
good.
real hardware, of course. Yes, fortunately, with the tools I'm using, the crashes I get through emulation, I get those even on real hardware. Yes, on emulator, I'm able to debug, but this is a very good thing. A
Yep, very
suggestion
good.
for our Game Boy developers here listening: push yourself to give your game in hands of a friend, a tester, someone else different from you,
Yeah,
because you are not able to see what the game really looks like. Ask, not for help, but for opinions. Is it good? Is it bad? And you need to watch your friends in
yeah.
the eyes playing your game. You
It's
watch
really
them
interesting
playing
watching someone else
and
play
note what
something that you
happened.
know so well, because you've obviously played the game hundreds of times already. You know the level layouts off by heart. You know when the enemies are going to appear. You know exactly what order to do things in. You give it to someone who's never experienced it before, and they do things that you didn't even consider would actually happen. So it is very important to get outside opinions on everything you do.
And to cover this part, I went to fairs. So they turned
Hmm.
on my Super Nintendo on my CRT that I brought from home and played my game. So I didn't care what they were playing, where were they. I just cared about their faces and
Yeah.
their expression and how and if they were excited or
That's
bored.
really good. That's a really good way. That's a really good way of developing. So,
This
yeah,
is
anyone
the
who's
only
watching,
way.
definitely recommend you try and attend some events and actually show off your game in person and gather feedback and reactions from people. That's a great piece of advice.
Actually, I learned it by reading the a classic of the, I think, web design literature and UX experience in general. It was called Don't Make Me Think. I cannot remember the author, I'm sorry, but the Don't Make Me Think book
Okay. Yeah, if you can
was
send me a link to that,
the
that would be
key to
great. I can add
understand
that in
this
the
process.
description too.
So to help Bologna Nerd, this is my way. So Bologna Nerd is going to help me with test, lore, and game design in general, the art. So a new cover, a new logo, of course. And also we will have, the super perk of that every Kickstarter campaign got to have. As I said, Bologna Nerd, we in Bologna Nerd used to play also table games, right? So in Flying Arrows 2, you will be able to go to the inn of the X Zoo city, and if you know, you know, and you are going to have a new experience. You have to play a little table game in the inn in the video game.
Okay, interesting.
It's called Tetra, and you will be able to play a simple version in the video game, but you will also be able to play and buy the real Tetra version as a real table game.
Okay, cool. And will that be part of one of the Kickstarter rewards to get that physical version of the board
Yeah,
game as well? Ah,
exactly,
interesting.
exactly.
Interesting. That's cool. So you're designing the board game and the video game at the same time then?
Alberto Strade has designed this Tetra table game during a Global Game Jam, I think in 2021.
Okay.
The game was good. The game is played in fairs, and um, he arranged to improve it, to improve the quality and all. So he's actually ready, and we all are able to play a Tetra game on our
Yep.
nights. It just need to be a real version. We have in our hands just the prototype of it. But for the Flying Arrows 2, the game will be, the rules are very clear and are already decided, so the game works good. We just can't wait for you to play it.
Yeah. Have you started programming that into the Game Boy?
Yes,
I did. Was it difficult to take a physical game concept and turn that into a video game?
One day with Alberto, we decided to hang out and to take 2 hours, just you and me, talking about Tetra and how it can be simplified to fit in a Game Boy.
Yeah, I mean, there was probably a lot you had to cut down to make it work in the screen space that you've got as well. I can imagine that would be an issue.
Yes, of course. And it was actually hard to give the same feelings.
Yeah.
But we reached out to do that. So the rules are on my todo.txt file.
Mm-hmm. a very long text file. I know the feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The Kickstarter is not actually, it's not even started. It's not even in pre-launch.
Yeah, but you are planning one, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I write it down a bit. And I think tomorrow night I'm going to Bologna Net and write down the campaign page. I have actually another tip for the developer here listening. Produce the prototype or the demo of your game if you want to sell it in some way, if you want to kickstart it in some way, and let the people play your game, your demo game, for free. It's very important here in 2023. We have not Nintendo Power anymore. We have the internet, and this is a mandatory point. So if you want for someone to play your game, you have to publish a free demo first. What about playing some Flying Arrows 2 prototype? Nick,
Whoa.
what do you think?
Let's do it. Did you hear that, everyone? World premiere. Flying Arrows 2.
Yeah.
Sure, send me the ROM. Let's give this a go.
I built it last night, 10 p.m.
Ah, how exciting. So anyone listening to this, hop on over to the YouTube version of this podcast and you'll be able to see the game in action for the first time ever. Okay, let's go. Flying Arrows 2. Okay, so right off the bat is very different. We've actually got an overhead walking around section, like you were saying, like Zelda 2. Oh, wow, fantastic. And then we've also got Zelda 2 style actually side-scrolling through the village sort of scene as well. I'm presuming later on there's going to be NPCs.
All right.
Enemies and things to encounter in these areas.
Well, the demo of the game will have mainly no harm zones. There will be a mine.
Let's go in here. Let's see what's in this cave.
Just placeholders.
Nothing there yet.
Nothing. No, not here. You can go back and go north.
I like the fact that you've expanded the scope of it in the sequel. Having the overworld map really makes it feel like a bigger adventure as well. Let's try in here.
And please, Nick, tell me, do you feel that this art is an evolution of the prequel? Do you feel the link?
Yeah, the sprites are bigger,
between the
which is the most obvious thing. The main character feels more substantial compared to the first game. Yeah, so that is an improvement. I mean, obviously the background tiles need some work. Whoa, snake.
Select. Press select. You have the money selected.
Oh, there we go. We do have arrows. I was wondering where the arrows were. Can you still stand on them? Yes.
You have not actually the slower arrow.
No, I can't. I
Not
can't get back on
here,
it.
not yet.
Right. What was that then?
A
A
web.
spider web. There he is. Kill the spider. And you dropped a heart. Cool.
I suggest you to hit the spider web.
Oh,
Yeah, left,
okay,
right,
cool.
left,
So
right.
you've got to sort of struggle to get free from the web. Nice. I like that. Come on, hit me again.
Yes.
Oh no. Let's see what's in here. Nothing yet.
Oh, not yet.
I found some placeholder background tiles, I think.
Yes, it is. It's not exactly a shop. It's something.
This is the hospital.
Yeah. In the northwest of the map, there's another cave.
Okay.
And it's actually the old mine.
The old mine.
Yes, I've not done it yet, but I have it in my mind. I think the homebrew scene needs
I'm gonna die.
to
yes. Am I gonna fall forever now?
Disappear forever.
Oh, no.
Right.
Okay.
To
Restart.
down and start a button. Okay.
I'll just press restart.
Okay, it's fine. It's very fine. I remember in my childhood the best mine level of my life. What's yours?
It's got to be Donkey Kong Country, right?
Correct.
Yes, I thought so. Minecart Madness.
Oh, as another advice of the game development, I prefer to do the hardest things first. So I design my game in a like doc file, like a txt file. So I have to or just paper and pen. This time I actually did pen and paper.
Okay, so you actually drew the idea for this overhead map
with my
on paper first.
With my pen, with my pilot or pilot.
Yeah.
I don't know how you pronounce it. Pen. And so first clear this and then implement the hardest part of the demo you want to give to the people.
Yeah.
So as you see, the pixel art is not the hardest part for me as a developer, as a C programming language developer. The hardest part is the code. So the game mechanics, the jump in your platform game. If you, in Game Boy developer listener, are going to do a platform game, spend 40, 50 hours tuning your jump action.
That's a good piece of advice as well, because I've played, well, I don't want to really, complain about other games, but there's a lot of Game Boy Studio games that use the default platformer engine, and you can tell straight away that they haven't fine-tuned it. Whee!
And if you walk on it, goodbye.
I've gone. I got past the exit.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got different types of arrows as well. I just realized that.
Yes.
By pressing select.
Exactly. This is another something that I took from the Flying Arrows one. The possibility to change your type of attack, so your arrow, while you run, because you can play select with your
that's good. So you can move around and change it at the same time. Yeah.
So you move your character left or right with the direction pad, which your left thumb will be used. And you can press select with your right thumb. So you're going to run, and while running, change your weapon. To me, it's something that works perfectly. But in every game, not just in Flying Arrows here. We have not talked about who is the character this time, and we're not going to say it.
I was going to say it's different. Is that Is that something you're keeping a secret for the Kickstarter?
Yes. Yes. On the
Yes.
Kickstarter, I
Okay.
will show it all. I will show the animated GIFs. On itch.io, there will be, oh, error. On itch.io, there will be a free demo.
Was it not meant to do that?
No. The free demo will be, as said, free on itch.io just in the same time that the Kickstarter will get pre-launched.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's everything in this version of the game that I can show off. But thank you so much for letting me play this and have a little bit of a sneak peek as to what's to come.
Thank you, Nick, for your feedbacks.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No, thank you, Nick. I'm going to keep bothering you on Twitter with my answers, with my retweet, and with my comments on your YouTube video. I'm going to keep trolling you and and all the developers out there.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the support, and I'm here to support you guys as well as developers. So all the best with your development journey, and please keep everyone in the loop. And thank you so much for coming on the show as well.
Thank you, Nick. You are going to be the first one that will know the exact date of the pre-launch campaign for my Kickstarter. So let's support Bologna Nerd as much as we can.
So thank you all so much for listening to that podcast. I really hope it was enjoyable and informative. I definitely had a lot of fun speaking to him. And now to play us out, here is one of the original tracks that he composed that was actually a special bonus on the original Kickstarter. So enjoy this track called The Misty Hills Orient Express.